Definition 1.10 is going to give us some more specifics about the mapping notation and just some other vocabulary that we can use when discussing mappings and more specifically functions. When we talk about a mapping, we always talk about there is a first set and there is a second set. Now, this definition is going to tell us that while yes, we typically will call set A the first set, it is also known as the domain of F. So rather than calling it always the first set, we can now call it the domain of F. And there is a mathematical set of symbols that will represent that, and I'll underline that next. It is denoted by capital D of F. So there is always an English translation for the mathematical notation. So what I have here underlined in blue are equivalent. One's in plain English and one is using mathematical symbol. And the set of all second elements in F is called the range of F, and this is denoted by capital R of F. So what we're defining here is the phrase range of F denoted by capital R of F. Now it's worth mentioning here that set A is equivalent to the domain of F. Set B, however, is not necessarily going to be equivalent to the range of F. Now the reason for that is simple. Let me make up this example. If set A, or the domain, is just elements 1, 2, 3, and set B is elements 1, 2, 4, and 5. Now I say I'm making that up. We saw that in some of the introductory examples in this section. According to the mapping definition and the function definition, I have to use every element from the domain. So I would have to use 1, I have to use 2, and I have to use 3. But I don't necessarily have to use everything from set B. So in this example, the domain of F is going to include all of the elements from that first set, but the range is only going to include the elements that I used. That would be the elements 1, 2, and 5. So the range is not necessarily the same as set B, but it is derived from the elements of set B that end up getting used. Another very important note here about the domain of a function is that the domain of a function will only allow elements that map to a real number. So if ever you come across a value that you plug into an equation and you come up with something that is not real, then that means that the value that you were trying to plug in is not allowed. We'll see much more of this in an upcoming example.